Okay, my background is originally in traditional Chinese medicine, and I was taught the ancient Chinese art of reading faces and body language, which is a 3,000-year-old tradition. The documentation goes back that far. And the understanding is that our static facial features reveal a huge amount of information about personality, character, health, communication styles, and a lot more besides. So that's it in a nutshell. And I've been working with this for some 40 years now, and I've added a lot more to that beyond what I was initially thought.
And so if somebody was to ask you, hey, I'm interested in facial analysis, could you tell me a little bit more about it? How is it used? What do you look for? What does it reveal in some cases or all cases?
Sure. Okay. Well, I started off as a therapist. I was a therapist for 30 years, so I was using it initially in diagnostic terms because that's how I was taught it. But I was actually far more interested in the broader Chinese understanding because it was used in medicine, in business and politics as well. And it was that whole personality side and character communication side that was ultimately far more interesting for me. So when I'm looking at a face, I'm looking at first and foremost whether as it were, the lights are on. So I'm looking first and foremost at the eyes, and the eyes tell me so much about whether somebody is present, whether they're willing to engage, or whether they're there for their own interests, because we have to be very clear about who we meet and who is advisable to meet and who is not. I'm looking then to see how best to communicate with that person, because their face, in particular, the eyes and the eyebrows will tell me a lot about how they best process information. Whether somebody's more data oriented, whether somebody's more feeling oriented, whether somebody's more creative. So that will determine the language I use, but also indicate the tone of voice I should use, whether I should speak fast or slow. And then I'm looking at whether somebody is more, in terms of somebody's intellect, whether they're more, they work more systematic, whether they're more very much about structure and systems, whether they're more expansive, more creative thinking. Again, that will influence the language I use. And there's a lot more than I can go into besides that.
Please do. This topic is really fascinating on many angles, specifically for the listeners of this channel. One is on the sales side. It would be very helpful for somebody to be speaking to a customer either via camera or face to face, and be, let's say, equipped with this type of knowledge to detect and assess and understand what the other party is reacting to. There's a lot of tools out there right now using AI and using various things. There's things called heat mapping, engagement level, measuring all these indicators, but never really heard or practiced, to be honest with you. Although we all know, for instance, when you're talking to somebody, if they're interested or not. I was taught this when I first started selling. If you walk into a boardroom, you're doing your presentation and somebody's yawning, close the presentation, your job is done, it's over. They're not listening to you. In your assessment, can you put that into a salesy perspective? I'm a sales guy. I'm walking to a meeting. I have a boardroom full of people. What is it that I should be paying attention to?
Okay, in terms of static facial features, and I don't just work with static facial features because I do work with body language. I do pay a lot of attention to facial expressions. I do a lot of listening as well. And I do work with sales, and I bring all of that into the picture. But the first couple of things, like if you go back a couple of years ago when we were all wearing masks and it was just the top half of the face was visible, that still reveals so much information to me in terms of how to communicate with somebody. So the first thing is the eyes. If the eyes are big and open, that tells me, as a rule, this is somebody who's more feeling centered. So I would use language. If I'm looking to sell them something, how does that feel to you? Simple things like that. I would use a very soft tone, very welcoming tone. And my posture would be very open, because that's part of the big part of the unconscious signals they respond to. Whereas if the eyes are more narrowed, this is somebody who's more typically more analytical. So they're more data oriented. They want the facts. They don't want you to get all happy clappy and all smiley. Okay, I'm here for purpose. What's the purpose? Then I look at the eyebrows. The eyebrows tell me a lot. If the eyebrows are essentially horizontal, and particularly if they're thick, that tells me this is very much somebody who's data oriented. So again, facts, information. And the thicker the eyebrows, the more data they want. because if they sense that you are holding back important data, like you say, the conversation will close down immediately. Whereas if the eyebrows are horizontal and very thin, they only want bullet points. And if you give them too much information, they're overloaded.